2020 has changed the world irrevocably, forever. One way you may not have expected, your air travel. You heard that right. Arguably one of the safest ways to get around became one of the easiest ways to spread disease, and airliners had to undergo some extreme changes so passengers felt safe. The big one being severely limiting or halting flights. But what about once things get back to normal? These changes ain't free, and guess who they're gonna cost? You. So sit back, relax, and save up, because we're exploring why flying may soon be reserved for only the richest. When 2020 came screeching to a halt, it was for good reason. The confusion and panic was only amplified by lack of information. The only thing anyone knew was that being in close quarters to anyone else was a very, very bad thing. Lo and behold, tons of industries instantly became obsolete. Gyms, restaurants, theaters, and of course, the subject of today's discussion, airlines. Demand for flights sharply and almost instantaneously dropped. In Italy, for example, ticket sales have declined more than 80%. With that, flights were becoming quite cheap to counter the fear the general public had of getting onto a giant enclosed metal tube that soars across the sky for hours and hours at a time, circulating the same air. Yeah, we feel the same way. Not ideal right now, and not very safe either. But cheap flights are only a short-term answer to a now long-term problem. The solution isn't sustainable if these companies want to continue on. That's why in the United States, many airlines have announced they would be implementing some rather extreme cost-cutting measures, be grounding many of their flights, and on top of that, be asking for government assistance so they don't go out of business. Experts say unless there is a big breakthrough in the next few months, airlines will continue to suffer long into 2021. So, just what are the cost-cutting measures? How will these affect us, the passengers? And what can we expect to change with regards to the standard first class, business class, and coach sections of a plane? And of course, the biggest question of all, how much will our flights cost in the future? Cutting capacity is the most obvious step that airliners have taken to ensure the safest trips possible. After all, less people on a plane means less chance of interacting with others, and less chance that if someone was sick, they could pass their germs onto someone else. In April of this year, U.S. airliners made some of their biggest cuts in capacity ever, as high as 49%. Experts say this number has the potential to get even higher, depending on the state of the world. What would it take for capacity to get back to normal? Well, for that, we can look at the last time we were in a huge dip in capacity worldwide, and that would be in 2008 and 2009, which included the financial crisis and global recession. And let's not forget this time frame also included the first few months of H1N1, aka the swine flu. Capacity in flights dropped only 4%, and it took just about 12 to 18 months for things to look anywhere near the usual capacity again. Based on this, all we can say is, this is going to be a long, hard road ahead of us, for all of us. The other major move made by airlines this year was to reduce their fleet size, with many estimates saying there will be a 20% decrease. Hey, less planes in the air means less maintenance needs to be done. After all, the world's airlines spend more than $40 billion on maintenance and upkeep every year. Hey, we get it. If you want to save, best to stay on the ground. But airliners know that people have to fly. Whether it's for work or something like a family emergency, it's a necessary part of how our society functions. Because of this, ticket prices are expected to go up by quite a bit. And if you thought that first class was expensive before, just you wait. Not only could these prices skyrocket, but you'll be getting nowhere near the experience that a first class ticket used to ensure. Let's break it down for you. First class has always been the creme de la creme means of traveling the globe. You get more space, more service, better food, with some planes even offering private suites or even access to onboard showers. It's luxury incarnate at a mile high, and you pay for it. Domestic flights in the U.S. have gone for an average of $1,300, and you can bet that prices rise when you leave the country. International round trips from the U.S. look something like this. If you're traveling to Europe, it's $3,500. Asia, $3,800. If you're going to India, expect $5,000. And if you're traveling first class to Africa, that's an average of a $5,800 ticket. Traveling like this truly isn't for everyone. mainly because most can't afford it. But if you think these prices are high, what if we told you that airline tickets are expected to rise in cost to offset their extreme losses? Extreme losses like the $252 billion that the International Air Transport Association, or IATA, recently reported they lost due to the lack of passenger revenue. This is a huge hit to these airlines, and already they have requested government help, which will look to be up in the $200 billion range or possibly even higher. Studies by the IATA show that based on the current amount of money airlines have in the bank, most could only last another 2 or 3 months before going under. But loans aren't sustainable, and one theory suggests that airlines will soon force you to purchase the seat next to you, not only to keep you safe, but to get as much money as they can out of each passenger that flies with them. That would jump those domestic first-class flights right up to $2,600, and that round trip to Africa, they would become $16,000. If you think this is crazy, well, think again. Airlines have enforced rules like this before, specifically if a passenger required space more than what the seatbelt can extend to. On American Airlines, they state that if the belt extends more than 1 inch beyond the outermost edge of the armrest, then another ticket must be bought for the seat next to you. Ticket price rises could also come from the extra measures that airlines are taking to keep the cabin as safe and disinfected as possible. United recently announced a partnership with Clorox, with the high hopes of having customers associate the two together, and thus think of United as being a clean, safe air service. Other standards of clean service include touchless kiosks at baggage check-in, mandatory face coverings for passengers and crew, individually wrapped hand sanitizer rags when you board the flight, snack packs that include a sanitizing wipe, and sneeze guards at check-in locations. These are certainly necessary additions, but hey, when your flight is now $16,000, you better hope you're getting all this stuff. But here's where things get tricky. Because that $16,000 flight may have been worth it, if you were to get all the amenities you expect on a first-class flight, the thing is, right now, you won't. First class and business class have their perks cut immediately due to saving money, and of course, passenger safety. One of the major reasons people take these luxury flights is the extra service that they would receive. Now, airlines have cut the flight attendants' interactions to a bare minimum to keep physical contact to as little as possible. United Arab Emirates has had some sweeping changes to their first-class experience, including less selection of food on the menu. Customers' beds will no longer be required to be made by the crew. Snack baskets at each seat will be removed and replaced by individual items available upon request. And finally, the onboard showers, onboard business class bar, and the social lounge will all be closed down. To top it all off, passengers and crew are required to maintain 6 feet of distance away from one another. Big changes have occurred on American Airlines and Air Canada too. American will be serving all their meals on one tray, and there won't be any more pre-departure beverage to quell the nerves. And Air Canada? Oh, they cut costs even more, eh? Traditional bar service has been replaced with bottles of water, and they will no longer be honoring special dietary requests. I mean, at this point, we say if this is the future of first class, then there's no reason to ever pay the pricey premium for the perfect plane passage ever again. So, with all these sweeping changes hitting the air service industry, is there any hope for us, the consumers? Will we be forced to either cough up the money or just not fly and leave air travel only to the richest? Well, Elon Musk may have something to say about it. The CEO of Tesla and SpaceX has been very vocal about lowering the cost of spaceflight so that more people would have the option available. What's the advantage of spaceflight? Maybe the 39-minute flight from New York to Shanghai will grab your attention. Or how about traveling from Hong Kong to Singapore in only 22 minutes? Or London to New York in an estimated 29 minutes? Remember, that's normally a 7-hour, 50-minute flight. See, the ships reach a peak of 18,000 miles per hour, and that's why these treks are so speedy. The rockets could conceivably carry from 80 to 200 people per flight. But there's one other thing you should know about. Space travel could be considered the most elite version of first class ever conceived. And what is affordable to Elon Musk is unthinkable to the rest of us. Mr. Musk proposes that these city-to-city flights will cost approximately $2 million per trip. And this is what he hopes will be the lowest cost possible. Currently, SpaceX flights cost between $62 million and $90 million. Now, we'll give Mr. Musk this. That price tag is far cheaper than the $152 million that the average NASA launch costs. But as far as affordable, well, only time will tell. And we mean that literally, as the first city-to-city space hops are to take place in 2021, according to a statement by Elon Musk. Will it be competition for airlines? Hey, if you're able to afford a $16,000 first-class ticket, what's the harm in bumping it up to a $2 million ticket? Well, now, it's going to be a long road ahead for our world to recover from this year. Airlines in particular have it harder than most, as rising costs, passengers' fears of safety, and the potential for quicker and more advanced travel like SpaceX all have to be overcome. But don't fret, innovation is at the heart of air travel, dating all the way back to when the Wright brothers invented the first successful airplane in 1903. The industry will certainly change. The question is, will you be willing to pay for it?